Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today we are playing Merfolk, or I guess we could call it Oops All Lords, because that's very much the aim of the game here. So Merfolk is a deck in Legacy that was quite popular, but it's kind of fallen by the wayside quite some time ago. And every time a new sort of Merfolk featured set comes out, whether it's like Ixalan or Lorwyn like we have today, everyone goes, oh, maybe this is enough. Maybe one more Lord is going to be the thing, or this one other card is going to help. And it often isn't the case. So we're going to see if it is today with these new stuff, because there is quite a lot of good new Merfolk stuff in Lorwyn. But whether or not it's good enough for Legacy, we're going to find out today. So let's have a look at the new cards first. We have Wanderbrine Trapper. This is a 1-mana 2-1, which gives us a critical mass of 2-power 1-drops when we play it alongside the Kumena Speaker, which is easier to cast thanks to the lands from Lorwyn, which is a big deal too. But you can pay 1, tap this and another creature you control to tap target creature an opponent controls. So you can use this to keep a, I don't know, Murktide Region or Barragoyf at bay and then just keep clocking, and that seems pretty good. So it's good early as pressure, and then it's good late to control the board. We have this other one, which is Encumbered Reejerey. This is an interesting one. It's a 2-mana 5/4. It enters with 3 -1/-1 counters. So that makes it a 2-mana 2-1. However, when it becomes tapped, while it's got a counter on it, remove it. So this is attacking as a 3/2. Given the nature of our deck, it's probably going to be attacking as a 4-power creature on turn 3, which is not bad. You know, this is an individually decent enough card that it can clock on its own. Probably one of the most interesting cards we have access to now is Sygg Wanderwine Wisdom. So this is 2 mana for a 2/2 that can't be blocked. When it enters or transforms into this side, target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card until end of turn. So this is going to give you some card advantage. And the way it flips is at the beginning of your first main phase, you can pay white to flip it, and then when it's on the other side, you can pay blue to flip it back. When it flips into the other side, target creature you control gains protection from each colour. So what you can do is you can use this to draw cards, and then use it to push damage, use it to draw cards, and so on and so forth, and just bounce back between the sides. And that seems pretty good to me, at least by Merfolk standards. The other new card is, you guessed it, it's a 2-mana Lord. So this is white and a blue for a 2/2. Beginning of your end step, untap target Merfolk you control. This is going to help us make our Wanderbrine Trapper do stuff. This is also going to make it hard for our opponents to attack into us, because sometimes we get into weird races, but this means we can just hold back a big guy to block with. The rest of it is just a bunch of Lords. Very much so. We have, 20 Lords? Which is maybe too many, but we're playing Oops All Lords. So we've got the Hexcatcher, which allows us to force spike non-creature spells when we sack Merfolks. It also has Flash. Lord of Atlantis, the classic, the OG, gives other Merfolk +1/+1 on Island Walk. Master of the Pearl Trident, exactly the same thing, except this isn't symmetrical, whereas this one is. And Merfolk Mistbinder, which is a 2-mana 2/2 again that just pumps Merfolk. So it's not quite as good as these because it doesn't give the evasion or the untap, but it's just another Lord. We've squeezed in 3 Force of Will in the main, and there's something missing from this deck that you might think is a normal staple for Merfolk deck, and that is Aether Vial. In my experience, Aether Vial is not a very good Magic the Gathering card most of the time. If you're playing a late game where you have Yori on Blinks with your Karakas, sure, you can justify it there. But in a deck like this, I'd rather just have another Lord, and our opponent just has to keep interacting with Lords. Instead of slowing ourselves down, I'd rather speed ourselves up by actually just committing creatures with power and toughness to the board on turn 1. There is 1 Chrome Mox in this list. This effectively gives us 9 1-drops, because if we have either of these or a Chrome Mox, then we can play a 1-drop. As for the mana base, we've got some new lands I've already mentioned. Cavern of Souls is a tried and tested for any sort of creature type based deck, but Abundant Countryside is a new one. This taps for any mana for creature spells, and then you can pay 6 and get a colourless Shapeshifter. That Shapeshifter will be a Merfolk, so it will be large if we ever get into that sort of situation. And we also have Eclipsed Realms, which just taps for Merfolk stuff. Just Merfolk mana. And then we've got some fetches because we want to have islands to make the Kumena Speaker work, as well as having access to a little bit of white and green mana on the side to help cast these bits and pieces, whilst also maybe some sideboard cards, which we'll talk about now. We're playing Swords of Plowshares because we're in white, which is probably going to help us in some creature matchups in a big way. But if we need some more help in creature matchups, we also have Champions of the Shoal. This is another new card. It's a 4-mana 4/6. As an additional cost to cast this, you have to behold a Merfolk and then exile it. So to behold it, you either point to one you have in play, or you reveal one from your hand, and it gets exiled until this goes away. So when it leaves the battlefield, you return the exile card. But the important text on this one is, whenever this creature enters or becomes tapped, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. Any sort of mid-range creature-based matchup, this is just going to dominate that, because we're going to stun things, just keep stunning stuff. So it's going to be a lot like when you have like a Kaito in those sorts of matchups where you just get to like lock down the big scary thing and just carry on with your game plan. That's what this is for. If we need to play a grindier matchup, we've got some different tools. We have Coppola, Warden of Waves. This is a 3-mana 2/2, spells your opponent's cast that target a merfolk you control, cost 2 more to cast, same with activated abilities. So this is kind of like Kira the Great Glass Spinner in a way, where we're just protecting our merfolk, but it's also a merfolk, so we can get all the buffs from our lords. So we can just have a little bit of protection there. We also have Emperor Mihail II, which is a 3-mana 3/3. We can play merfolk cards from the top of our library, and whenever we cast a merfolk spell, we can pay 1 and get another merfolk, little 1/1 token. So this is just going to help us in the grindier matchups when just having lots of lords maybe isn't necessarily where we want to be. But I think generally speaking, the big sort of collection of lords is where we want to be in game 1, just to keep throwing power in and just steamroller over people. A bit like how the red-white energy deck sort of goes, where it's just making lots of power, doing lots of stuff, trying to go bigger than its opponent. We're trying to do something similar with a little bit of Force of Will action. And then if we need to, from the sideboard, we can up our Force of Will count. Well, we've got another one in the board alongside a couple of Force of Negations, and there's also a couple of Grafdigger's Cage for like combo-y style matchups as well, like Reanimator or any sort of Green Sun Zenith deck as well. So, and like Oops or Spells, Dredge, a whole bunch of things at the Grafdigger's Cage Eclipse. So that's what we're playing today. Do I think this deck is going to be winning us a trophy today? No. But I think we're going to surprise some people and beat them down with a whole horde of fish. So like, subscribe, and get ready to watch Oops All Lords. The new year is here, and what better time to clear out your unwanted cards than now? My lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all Magic cards and collections of any size. They will quickly appraise your collection and give you a fast, non-binding ballpark figure so you know what you're working with right away. They buy collections from anywhere in the world. You can ship them cards, arrange a courier, and they even make in-person visits for large collections to offer full peace of mind. Click the link in the description or visit 3for1.gg/sell-COW to start unloading your unwanted cards today. How does our hand look? 1 drop into Lord, into Lord. Yeah, that's what we're here for, isn't it? It's the turn 3s that kind of get a bit weird with our deck, because we go 1 drop, 2 drop, and then it's just another 2 drop, so that next land doesn't do as much. We've got a Surveil land over there. I hope you're relying on counterspells, opponent, because we've got double Cavern. One of the things that Merfolk used to be good at was ignoring wastelands. We're not so good at doing that because of having to play all these different lands to make sure we can cast all of our spells, but I think that's still fine. Casting this Speaker is going to potentially walk into an Orcish Bowmasters. That is the one downside here. Because we need an island to make this a 2/2, but I think it's better just to make it uncounterable. But maybe it's better to play the Misty Rainforest and get this going. Let's play this Misty Rainforest. Let's crack this. Now is the time for them to do something if they want to kill this. Okay, they don't want to kill it that much. Do you want to play the slightly more difficult one, or do you want to play the one that gives our creature unblockable? Probably the one that gives our creature unblockable, I would say. We've got lots of coloured sources, so I'm just going to get an island here, I think. Because then we can't be wasted off it, so our Speaker's going to be large. So blue and blue. Let's get stuck in with the Lord of Atlantis. It's an oldie, but a goodie. So we can push 3 damage this turn. Next turn it'll be 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. And then turn after we should be looking at lethal damages. Now our opponent's probably going to have removal, but our deck is just all fish. So they're just going to have to spend removal again and again and again and again to get anywhere. Okay, we're looking at Esper maybe? Interesting. Swords to Plowshares. Not on the Lord. Sure. How much removal can our opponent have? A Teferi. You're going to bounce my Lord of Atlantis. Little tempo play from our opponent here. Sure. Now we are an aggro deck against a control deck here, which generally is something that favours the control decks. But we'll see what we can do. Get this down. I'm going to leave this Cavern of Souls in our hand. Play this. Name Merfolk, obviously. The next turn we can go Lord, Lord, or we can go Lord, card advantage. Alright, they're going to have some spells at instant speed. If one of them is a Supreme Verdict, that obviously is very poor for us. Katara, Waterbending Master. You got it. I'll play this one out. We'll obviously name Merfolk again. We'll go for another Lord of Atlantis, because then we definitely have unblockability. Our opponent has mana up that kind of suggests they might be trying to answer one of our creatures this turn. So if I try and target with this, it's probably just going to die. So I think I'm better off going for this critical density of lords. Do I care about the Teferi? I think we probably should just take the Teferi out for good measure. You got another Plow opponent. Prismatic Ending works here as well because the Teferi bubble to cast sorceries instant speed. Alright, we will untap our Lord of Atlantis. So we can have 15, 16, 17, 18. So we have lethal damage next turn if we just play both of these lords. Yep, sign me up for lethal damage. That sounds good. We're obviously extending a little bit into potential Wraths. But if they're playing Katara, they might not be running Wraths. Let's go for a Lord of Atlantis here. And then I think we're just going to go for this one. Because the other Lord is better, but we don't need it to be better just yet. We can save that one to rebuild if something goes wrong here. How many Lords would you like me to have? Well, this is very much what we came to do here, right? Here is 18 damage to the face. Snapcaster Mage. So we're getting a Source to Plowshares. We're losing one of them. They're still going to take 10 here and have a lot of damage on the backswing. Sure, we're going to Plow. Just a Lord of Atlantis. Got you. Now, you're not blocking. They've got 2 experience counters. I don't really care about your experience counters. We are just slamming our opponent with our massive friends. Doesn't feel like they're raffling the board sort of deck. This is going to get them a little bit of digging. But they're going to need multiple removal spells to stand any sort of chance here. Alright. Pretty good stuff. Well, that was proof of concept. What do I like here? So this could be a grindier matchup. So it might mean we're going to want to have access to things like the Warden of the Waves. I think that's a definite that we want to have access to here. Do you want Champions or the Emperor? I think we probably want the Emperor. What would I like to Swords of the Plowshares in this matchup? Maybe a Murktide if they have it. I think we can kind of just ignore the Katara for the most part. Maybe this isn't a Force of Will matchup. We just strip those out, get these in. We trim like one of the worst lords is fine. And then do we want like a champion or 2? Just so we can like stun some guys up. I wouldn't mind a couple maybe over these little guys. Try something like that. Now, there are things that I would be kind of interested in having the Force for, like to counter the Murktide and stuff. But I think we're better just going through it. We've seen Snapcaster Mage, but I don't think it's worth bringing in the Grafdigger's Haze just for Snapcaster. That's more for the dedicated graveyard decks. We are the beatdown, so we are going to do our very best to beat our opponent down. 1 drop into 2 drop, into more 2 drops, even a 3 drop there, right? Here comes the fish. Undersea Sewers, so we're going to get on board pretty early. I don't think our opponent's going to have room for Wastelands in their Esper deck, but it is possible. I think we're just going to go and get this speaker in. We don't have the Cavern this time, so we are slightly susceptible to getting our spells countered. But they might have eased up on counter spells because we have the Caverns. Especially if they're not a Wasteland deck. They're probably just boarding out their blue cards and boarding in their white cards to kill our creatures. Okay, Katara. Sure, you can have that. I would love to draw a Cavern of Souls, please. Not a Cavern of Souls. Let's go for a Lord of Atlantis. You going to daze this? No. So we get 3 damage in this turn. Thoughtseize. Go ahead. My deck is just all lords. Take a pick. The one that counters your spells or the one that hits you harder and makes sure that we're guaranteed unblockable. Neither seem great for you. Oh, they took the grindy one. Interesting. They're holding up a Source to Plowshares here. I would like to not have to get plowed. If we play this guy, then I would want to represent Veil or Plow. I think I'd rather represent Veil here. Obviously, we don't have either in our deck right now. This way, if they plow our Lord of Atlantis, this can still attack through the Katara. Sure, you can brainstorm. Next turn, we can play the Hexcatcher or the Champions. Champions is kind of interesting. If we can just make it so this Katara never gets to attack again, that's going to be very irritating for our opponent. And whilst this is in play, it does protect this from being Thoughtseized. But then as soon as this leaves, if they like remove it at sorcery speed, they can then Thoughtseize this away. Just want to draw a Cavern of Souls. So we attack with both, even if we lose the Lord of Atlantis, this one's still damaged. They'd always remove this one anyway, rather than the one that's not attacking, so it's kind of a moot point. Alright, that's half of our opponent's life total right there. What are you going to do this turn, opponent? Are you just going to get run over by fish again? The sheer embarrassment of getting 2-0'd by a fish deck. Our opponent said this has been an incredibly boring match. That sounds like it's over. But we'll see. Prismatic Ending. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're not quite a lethal this turn. Alright, they're going to get a little bit of looting in. And they get a point of damage in. If we draw a Lord, we can assemble lethal damage. We did draw a Lord. Let's play this. Name Merfolk. Let's go for Master of the Pearl Trident, please. Fish gonna fish. We'll go for this Hexcatcher. This gives us lethal damage this turn. They need a Force of Will or they're dead here. I don't think they're playing Solitude. Okay, they've conceded. Boom. That means we are undefeated with Merfolk right now. Just write that down. Let's go to round 2. No 1-drop. It's actually kind of a big deal. We're on the draw, so we might draw one. Am I supposed to mulligan? Our deck definitely wants to have a 1-drop. I think we will. We have so much redundancy. We're just looking for that 1-drop. We only have 1 land. That makes this hand a little bit worse. But we're on the draw. I can't be keeping a 1-lander. Okay. Deck. Please stop. Okay, we'll keep this one, I guess. I guess we get Tundra, so we're putting back the green one. And then this one. And then this one. Okay. I think we're going to be in trouble with this one. We should have just kept that hand with a bunch of 2-drops instead of trying to curve out with our 9 1-drops. Oh, don't be Thoughtseizing me. Am I going to scoop this up? Nah. I probably might just suck against guys. If they're like a Doomsday deck and we just keep turning guys sideways. That might be enough to ruin it for them. And people play removal in their decks, but they don't play enough removal to deal with 20 Lords. Right, there's 1 down, 19 to go for our opponent. Here comes the Tundra. If we get dazed and then they wasteland us, then maybe we just scoop and have a better time. I would like to see what our opponent's playing, so I'm not going to scoop until I get enough information to sideboard with. A Ponder, that is not a Brainstorm. It's also not an Orcish Bowmasters. I think those two would have been the scary things they could do outside of just Dark Ritual and stuff. Because once they're cantripping, when they know what we're doing, that becomes a little bit scarier. Okay, let's play a Lord. That's what our deck does. Get my Island Walk. Boom, 3 damages. If our opponent is Doomsday, we might just be able to clock them quick enough. But if they are Doomsday, we're probably going to want some access to counter spells in the post-board games. They could be Ad Nauseam Tendrils. We don't see that deck as much as you see Doomsday. Another Ponder. This definitely feels like a combo deck now. It's still possible that it's not. But it's just the vibes I'm getting. They didn't shuffle. And Marsh Flats. That definitely has given me more Doomsday vibes. Because the control decks tend, or like the tempo decks tend to have blue fetches and not a black fetch. Although, Baleful Strix. This isn't very good against the old Island Walk. I can't believe we didn't draw another Lord. Let's deploy this one. In we come. 5 damages. Oh wait, this one doesn't have Island Walk itself. Oh, that is a massive, massive punt on my part there. I thought they gave themselves Island Walk. That is a big misstep. I'm sorry all you Merfolk players out there. That was not necessary. We don't have any Surveil lands because we just want to be playing creatures out with our mana every turn. But maybe we need a Surveil land so that when we have our like turn 3 where we're playing a Lord and we just have a 3rd mana hanging around, then it's not so bad. We definitely made a horrible mistake there. And now we're almost certainly going to lose to this Bowmaster that our opponent's about to play. Tropical Island. Let's get this little guy. Yep, here comes the Bowmasters. We lose one of our guys. Am I willing to trade this for 2 guys? I don't think so. Imagine if we still had our Lord and just didn't just make a horrible play. Undercity Sewers. So we could have got him for this turn. And then have lethal the turn after. Now obviously our opponent's got cards in hand. They have something to say about that. Alright, some sort of Merfolk, you say. That's very much what I wanted to draw. Was another Merfolk guy. I think at this point we are just pushing damage. If they kill our Master of the Pearl Trident, you know, we're on a mult of 4 here. Okay, they're going to fatal push. They can block here. I'm just going to do this, absorb all the damage. They lose their Bowmasters. The fact that we could have won this game if we didn't make a misplay is kind of amazing, to be honest. We were on a mult of 4. Maybe our deck is actually secretly good. Okay, him to tour out. Like, everything we've seen here tells us that our opponent is very much a blue-black tempo thing. We didn't see a Kaito there, which is one of the things I don't want to see. Don't particularly want to see a Murktide either. I think they should have cracked that clue in combat in case they drew the Kaito, then they could put it in. I think that would be a thing that they should have been aware about. Right, let's get blown out by an Orcish Bowmasters. No. Let's play this Abundant Countryside and move on with our lives. I wonder if we're ever going to make a guy from this. Seems very unlikely. Okay, Brazen Borrower. Okay, our opponent feels the need to race here. That's good news for us. They can always just keep the Tamiyo back to try and block this, but then if we draw any sort of Island Walking Lord and they don't have an answer for it, they feel pretty foolish for doing so. So I think they're right to try and push their advantage here. Another land. They don't have hard cast Force of Will. Alright, let's go for this guy. So we can flip this to make sure we can guarantee damage. Because we can have an unblockable creature. Right, we're getting a Force of Will here. Our opponent goes to 1. Sorry, our opponent loses 1. They're going to go to 4 here. So they are losing this race. But they are drawing additional cards every turn. We don't have enough damage to finish them off next turn. Regardless of what we draw. If they wanted to, they could have banked the clues over 2 turns and flipped the Tamiyo and then reduce our clock a lot more. I think that would actually be an interesting way to have played this one. But they have like cantrips and stuff they can draw. We'll sandbag this one. 2 damages. You got Bowmasters? No. If we didn't make a misplay earlier, we would have won this game by now. Incredible. So the Tamiyo's coming in. They play a Murktide. We draw some Island Walk enabling. We play uncounterably, we win the game. That is what we're aiming for here. If they had a removal spell, it definitely would have come out by now. They could have just drawn one off this clue, though. Here comes the Murktide. Is there... We could draw the Champion guy, and that can tap down the Murktide as well. So, actually, no, the Champion guy's in the sideboard, isn't it? So I think we're just looking to draw one of our Island Walking lads. And then we get to win this one. Wanderbrine Trapper. That doesn't win us the game. This is 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay, so we punted this one. We should have had this. We should have been undefeated with Merfolk. But we know what our opponent's up to now. This is the sort of matchup where I would like to have access to like plows and champions. I think our opponent's going to be prioritizing removal somewhat as well. So I guess these Emperors and these Kapalas. So we don't want these Force of Wills. We probably get rid of the worst Lord. And that gives us 3 more cuts to find here. If we want all of these. We could just have like these things and then not the Swords to Plowshares. I don't particularly want the Reejerey against the Bowmasters maybe. Maybe that's the actual trap here. We just have this. So we've still got a lot of Lords. I think the Reejerey looks pretty solid. But maybe we just don't need it. A 1-lander on the play. If we don't have a second land, our hand doesn't do anything. So we have to mulligan again. Okay, we can keep this. I think we just get rid of the Mox here. And we're just going to have to play this game a little bit slower. I don't really want to lose that card to the Mox this time around. If we had a 7-card hand, sure, we could do something with it. We don't have a Surveil land. Play this, name Merfolk. Crack this. Probably get in basic island here. I think we're casting this one. Because if we get wastelanded, we can still use a Tundra to cast the other one. Whereas this is the only one that is kind of unique in how we want to cast it. Again, fatal push to the end step, I suspect. We could have played around this slightly by just holding up the Hexcatcher and waiting to go through this turn cycle. But we're going to have to play through their removal at some point. No wasteland is good news for us because that means all of our spells are just going to resolve. Let's go for this guy. So white and blue. The white mana is a lot more sacred to us because of our Swords to Plowshares that we have. So I'm going to sandbag the Tundra for as long as I can. Another removal spell, sure. There's an island. A Barragoyf. This is why we have the Champions of the Shoal. Specifically for Barragoyf. It's also pretty good against Murktide as well. This can still be fatal pushed. And if they're running Fee this cycle, it can deal with this as well. Go to sleep, Barragoyf. And I hope you never wake up. A Ponder. Hopefully we can get this Hexcatcher down and do some cool stuff with it. It's unlikely we counter anything. It might just end up being a Lord. But on the off chance we do get to counter something sweet. And I'll take it. Okay, not a second Barragoyf, that's good news. 1, 2, 3. So they could make a 6/6 Murktide. They did, in fact, make a 6/6 Murktide. Okay, I really wish we didn't punt the first game now. That's going to bother me for the entire of this league, I suspect. Sygg. Sygg is interesting. Let's make the Murktide sleepy. Get our little card advantage going. The Source to Plowshares I was looking for. Thank you, deck. Let's plow this guy. And that is why we didn't play the Hexcatcher. Legacy is a format that's all about sort of like intricate battles with little spells and things. But sometimes if you just jam a bunch of creatures at someone, their deck doesn't quite work in the way that they would necessarily want. And that's kind of what we're trying to prey upon today. This looks like another Barragoyf. Oh, a Toxic Deluge. This is just going to kill the Sygg, but not the other guy. Okay. Now what? Shoulder's Edict. Okay, we got our guy back. A Lord of Atlantis. Let's get Lord in. Do I want this speaker right now? It ends up being more damage if we play this one out. It looks like we're representing a Source to Plowshares. Tamiyo, yep, I hate it, but here it is. A Deepchannel Duelist. Let's get that down. 7 damage. An Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. Maybe we get to blow them out with something in a second. Ping that guy down. They got no cards in hand, so they're going to get blown out here. In a big way. Flash. Boom. Get absolutely wrecked, opponent. Let's untap my little guy. Have we actually built a good deck? Is that what's happened here? They get 1 redraw with this Tamiyo. But there's so much power in play. Now, every time you take away 1 creature, you do take away not just that creature, but the pump effect. But even so, if they take out 1 guy, they still die. Cracking the clue, I would assume here. Are we dead? Do we get to go to game 3? Yeah. Okay, we should have already won this one. But we have to play another one because I made a horrible punt. But let's get to it. I think our deck is actually playable. It's wild that that's happened, but here we are. Okay, we can keep this one. Hopefully we'll find a white source for this plow at some point. Which of these cards? It doesn't really matter which one we play, does it? I guess we'll put the countryside in. Here is a 1-mana 2/1 into your Orcish Bowmaster deck. But they're trading a 2... Like, that is a 2-drop that comes down and pings our 1-drop. I don't want to play that many 2-drops that they can ping with Bowmaster. But if they can kill our 1-drop, I can just live with that. It's not what I want for us, but I'll take it. Cavern of Souls, please. Just to give me that security. A Baleful Strix. You got it. Let's not make a horrible mistake into this one, shall we? That would be a useful thing for us to do. Let's play this one out. A Merfolk, obviously. Blue and blue. I would like some Island Walk, please. They might have Dazes back in now they're on the play. But they might have taken out a lot of their counter magic because of the caverns in our deck. So we kind of got this weird back and forth of how many counter spells you actually run. They did have a Daze. Alright, I'm not going to run this guy into here. We don't have to worry about Kaito this turn either. Which is something that would maybe make me want to trade this off if they had the ability to put Kaito in. A Brainstorm, sure. There's a Ponder. So what we can do this turn is we can, in our opponent's end step, we can tap this guy down and then we can get a nice crack in. They did not shuffle off the Ponder. We do need to resolve a creature for this to work for us, though. An Abundant Countryside. I guess we can play that one. See no reason not to play that one. There's our guy. We'll pass it over. If they play a land, I think we have to tap this down. If they play something pre-combat, then we don't. It's a Barragoyf. We have to tap this down, but we can tap this one down if we want to. Warden of the Waves, you say? Quite like that guy. Go for blue. Blue. It doesn't really matter, does it? Would have liked to have drawn a Tundra so that we can actually kill this, but c'est la vie. I could tap this down and get in a little hit, but I think we're better off trying to get this going this way. We'll untap our guy. And we can tap down the Barragoyf this turn. And then maybe we get to jam this Champions. It doesn't seem like our opponent's got counter spells, although stuff has been sitting on the stack for a bit. I wonder if they go after our tropical island here. I think that's what I would do if I was our opponent. This can shut off days that we might be running. It's the sort of thing that could be in our wheelhouse. Also means that our little guy that requires us to have other Merfolk or island doesn't have the island, so they can sweep the Merfolks. It'll get smaller, and that's something. I'm a little worried about Kaito, but I guess this makes Kaito activations a lot less scary. We're going to go to combat. At the beginning of combat, we're going to tap down this Barragoyf. Is it Kaito time? Feels like it. No, just the 1 damage. Is this going to be a Toxic Deluge for 3? Man, I wish we didn't punt the first game. Oh, it's going to be for 2. Yeah, because then it'll kill the other one as well. Same difference. I would like to draw a Tundra, please. Or a Cavern of Souls. Or a fetch land. I don't think you waste land here, opponent. I think you save this for Cavern, maybe. Okay, they're hitting the trops, so at least they're hitting the right one, I think. Come on, deck. Master of the Pearl Trident. We didn't draw the land, which would have been really handy here. This is a real pain for us. Yeah, we should have won this whole game already, and that's going to bother me. Why don't you give yourself Island Walk? You're literally surfing on a wave. Because I'm pretty sure Lord of Atlantis, back in the day, used to give itself Island Walk, because it was like a 1-1 or something that said Merfolk creatures get +1/+1 on Island Walk. Alright, Barragoyf just has to hit us here. I hate that a great deal. They didn't hit anything they get to bring back, so that is something at least. You're not a land. I think we can power through this. It's just going to be difficult. 2 Toxic Deluges is a little bit unusual though. Shoulder's Edict. Sure, I'll lose the only guy I have. I just needed a mana source to deal with this. Or an... Okay, so they're going to take... What do you take here? Is it the Champions? Or is it the Plough? It's one of these two, obviously, but I don't know which one. Oh, they took the Hexcatcher. That's really strange. I wonder what we can intuit from our opponent's hand. They've obviously got some banging spells they want to resolve. Right, you can hit us again with this Barragoyf. How many... You got any sweet cards? There's an Orcish Bowmaster. So they're going to get the Orcish Bowmaster back, which is a pretty good card, as it turns out. Another Source of Plowshares. You kidding me, deck? Okay, we probably have to hold back with this Lord of Atlantis, because if we attack him, we just get clipped by this Bowmasters. But we made a misplay, and we're losing this match because of it. So now we're going to take a hit from this Barragoyf again. We're going to go to 4. Talia is pretty strong. Big Daddy Murktide. If we draw a plough now, it's going to be... If we draw the land for the plough, it's going to be too late. Alright. Ugh. Yep. We deserve to lose because we made a mistake, because I thought this had Island Walk for itself, but it doesn't. Yeah, I've just looked it up, and apparently 7th edition was when it was printed, was the last time it was printed with all Merfolk have +1/+1 and Island Walk, so I guess that was my bad. Because it didn't used to be a Merfolk itself, so it didn't pump itself. But it did have the all Merfolk get Island Walk, and I thought it pumped itself. Ugh! Awkward. Let's go to round 3. Yep, this hand looks like a banger. I'll keep this one. The Force of Will actually looks like the worst card in it, which might be a recurring theme, but we'll find out. Okay. I don't think anyone's going to counterspell this Wanderwine Trapper. So I'm going to play this off of this Abundant Countryside, with the intention of saving this Cavern of Souls for this Lord of Atlantis in case I have a Wasteland. I would like to have this one be uncounterable. If our opponent is like a combo-y deck, maybe we have to play this Hexcatcher first, but I don't think we're going to know what our opponent's doing until it's maybe too late. Okay, I guess we know what they're doing. The Dark Ritual. We could fire this off right now, or we try and hit the payoff. I think we're going to try and hit the payoff. I thought these absolutely punished. 100% punished. Now, we've got plenty of stuff in our deck to deal with our opponent here. Do they have enough to go off right now, though? That's always the thing. If you hit the Dark Ritual, they've still got a payoff in hand. And it gets really awkward. Cabal Ritual, that takes them up to 3 mana, so they just need a Spirit Guide. Do they have the mana? They do indeed. Okay, let's just see what they put into their graveyard in case there's anything interesting. There won't be because it's useful spells, but it doesn't hurt to look. There's a few different builds going around. Okay, so we are a Pact of Negation build. Good to know. There's not that many green... There's none of the green lands in it. There's none of the blue lands in it either, which is another thing that you sometimes see. Alright. We could have bought ourselves a turn here if we'd have Force of Will the Dark Ritual. I did debate it at the time, but most decks aren't supposed to be useful spells in the main. Okay, so let's have some Force of Negations because they do something. Let's have this other force. We got the Grafdigger's Cage. Do I need anything to deal with their creature Duke? I'm interested in that. I don't think so. This card is just generically good on its own anyway, but it doesn't pitch to forces, so I guess we'll just bin off one of those. Maybe... Is this better? Doesn't pitch to force. Maybe we just want these guys instead of the white guy there. Do I want anything to deal with a potential creature Duke? Am I okay with just Wanderbrine Trapper and Force of Will to deal with it? I think that's probably enough. Well, there's only one creature they can play that we care about, and that's Barragoyf. And we can outrace that a lot of the time because they're not going to be playing removal really. We can't keep this one, so we have to mulligan. 2 forces. I guess we keep this one. We'll probably throw back this Misty Rainforest. We've got both colours here anyway. If it does come down to some sort of weird creature Duke, that extra life point might be relevant. So I'm going to bin this one off. We don't have any Surveil lands either. Can my double Force of Negation do enough? Their creatures are obviously not hittable via the Force of Negation. So this is a little bit sketchy. They've gone to 5. So we have to hit any of the mana they do. If they just have like land and a bunch of spirit guys, we just lose. But maybe we can clip something out of the graveyard when they try and cast it. I would like to draw a Grafdigger's Cage for my first draw, and that would be a nice one. Tundra and pass. If we don't draw a blue card, are we even deploying a Lord? A Thoughtseize. Well, I'm not going to fight over a Thoughtseize. They probably take the Force of Negation, which means we can definitely deploy a Lord. Unless we draw another Force effect. If we're not pressuring our opponent, they will just eventually win the game. Because that's how combat decks work. I took one of the forces. Knowing that we have that one and not the other one is kind of annoying. They can sort of play around it. Oh, you beautiful, beautiful artifact. Get right into my battlefield. They're not going to have Force of Vigor, I don't think, because they weren't running any of the green lands or anything, so they're not going to have enough green cards to pitch to a Force of Vigor. So this can counter the Charbelcher pivot if that's what they're on. If they're on the creature pivot, then whatever. Okay, so they're going to play something. A Cabal Ritual. They're just going to play their guy out? Okay, I guess you can play your guy out. We have the cage to cover it. Sure. Who are you milling? It has to be us, presumably, right? You've got a small guy. We will be able to outrace this, because our deck is just full of pressure. Abundant Countryside. Let's get the fish in. Next turn this cracks for 3, and then we crack for 6, so we're way ahead, especially since they've domed themselves with so much damage. This creature pivot, not going to work unless they have a Barragoyf. If they had a Barragoyf, they would have played it last turn. So I don't think they have one. Certainly not in hand, at least. Blue card, please. It is a blue card. I will play this Lord of Atlantis. I'm going to keep up this white, just so we're trying to sell something. Like, there's a reason we're trying to leave up this Tundra every time. We actually are pretty close to lethal next turn. If they play a tap land, then we can lethal them out. I don't think we're countering a Lotus Petal. If they have a Barragoyf that they get to cast because there's Lotus Petal, it's going to be bad. But I think this is... What would they do with 4 mana? Just play another Balustrade Spy? We beat that, so I don't care about that. If it's a Charbelcher, we answer it. This feels like bait spells a little bit, because what could they do? This is just going to be another Spy, isn't it? Fell the Profane. Okay, we can just counterspell this and keep up the pressure. I don't believe they can win with just one card. Alright, yeah, they're scooping it up to that. Do I want to do anything differently? We didn't see Barragoyfs. Pretty content with what we've got here. And we're just going to send it in again. Okay, we can play a 1-drop and then have double Force. It seems reasonable. In fact, we have 2 1-drops and then double Force. I'm not going to have a great time into Cabal Therapy naming Force of Will. Bog at bog. Tapped or untapped opponent? Untapped. We go in here. Is this just a Thoughtseize first? It is. Would I like to protect my hand? No. We just get to keep more material this way, which means we get to keep the Hexcatcher. So we can turn all of our little guys into counterspells. And that's quite a strong line as well. I do wish this card was blue. Then we wouldn't have to play green until we'd probably cut the Lord. But I think we do need 8 1-drop creatures. They unsurprisingly took a Force of Will. Lotus Petal coming down. 3 cards left in hand. Master of the Pearl Trident. It's a good little friend. Let's make the Trapper here. This is the easiest thing to have be a 2-power creature. If they do play a Barragoyf, we might be able to start tapping it down if that's their pivot. If we can draw a land and get this Hexcatcher going, that would make me feel pretty good. The amount of pause that our opponent is doing here makes me think they don't have it and they're just trying to work out what they need to draw, perhaps. Because their lines aren't particularly complex. Or maybe they're just like, how do we ever beat this Force of Will? That's what I hope they're thinking. I think the Marshal of the Pearl Trident is probably our pitch to the Force of Will. Getting another card could be another counterspell or a Grafdigger's Cage. So I think I'm more inclined to get this going after we've got the Hexcatcher going. If we miss on land, we still get a 1-drop in this turn. Okay, we did miss on what we were trying to do there. That was unfortunate. Bash for 2. And then we got the Speak down. So we now got a lot of pressure. I don't like this Thoughtseize for us. Can they string together a win? Oh, they've hit their own Undercity Informer. Interesting. I thought they were tagging us. Okay, so now we have to say no to this. If they have a Pact of Negation as their last card in hand and they kill us here, that's a Pact of Negation. So we the fact that we missed on land is going to cost us this game. But I don't think you're throwing back a double Force of Will, double 1-drop hand. Cool. We get to do this whole song and dance. I'm just curious if they did have any pivot plan. I'm just going to have a little look. No, we're just all in on this. They really not have anything else going on. Their deck is just 100% cold to Grafdigger's Cage. Huh. Okay, sure. Yeah, Oops All Spell still exists. And sometimes it's going to get you. The double Force of Will hand was no good. We die on turn 3. Let's go to round number 4. What do we do here? We need a land. I think we just need to mulligan this one and be disciplined. We're on the play as well. Yeah, this hand seems better. We can keep this bin off this Eclipsed Realms, I think. And then lead off on a Flooded Strand. I think we just want to get the Reejerey in first so we can start scaling it up. Our opponent says, hi YouTube, so say hello back. Marsh Flats. We get in Thoughtseized. Little Mirage Swamp. Oh, it's just a Nethergoyf. I think we can make some bigger creatures than that. I am worried about Reejerey in terms of... Oh, this is the mono black build. That's what the bauble probably tells us here. This is with like Moonshadow and stuff. Do I want to play this Reejerey right now into a potential Bowmasters? I don't think I do. I'm just going to get the Tundra here. Get the Duelist in. I think this is just so that we can avoid this Reejerey just getting pinged. Because if we play this, they Bowmaster us, then what are we even doing at that point? It's just a million miles behind. So they've got a 2-3 Nethergoyf now. A Fatal Push. Okay. What about second Nethergoyf? Opponent is going to have just a big parade of creatures moving forwards. Okay, so this is green and blue. Let's play out this Mistbinder. I'll play this out on Merfolk as well. Because maybe we don't have to spend any life if we draw another untapped land next turn. And that 1 life point could end up being relevant. Big Daddy Barragoyf. Our opponent is playing Lurgoyf Tribal over there. Or Lurgoyf Kindred, I should say. So let's take 6. Hate that for us. Okay. This goes and gets us a Trop, I guess. So this becomes a 3... Okay, so if we play this Lord of Atlantis right now, we can then flash in this Hexcatcher and surprise them. And maybe take out their Nethergoyfs. And that's something. And then we're into, can we raise Barragoyf territory? The answer is probably no, but we can put some stuff in front of it maybe. And our creatures are going to be relatively substantial. Another Barragoyf. Are we just sending the team in? Oh, you've just played out an island. Get wrecked. I'm not sure if this is correct to play this out, actually. We don't know what's in our opponent's hand. They like the card on top, though. Send in the team. Ah, you're sending in just... Okay, no, sending in all the guys. There we go. Let's get a Lord in. Let's get a good trade-off here. They will gain 4 life and get a card back, but we get to take out 2 of their bodies, and then we just need to work out what we're doing about these Barragoyfs. Our sideboard certainly helps in this situation. But decks like our opponents aren't that common. Although they should probably be a bit more common than they are. I really like the mono black mid-range deck. There's even mid-range, it's aggro. Okay, we drew a land, that's pretty bad. Here is the Reejerey. I think we will pass the turn over. We don't have enough to like one-tap our opponent, so I guess we're doing some horrible trades instead. Wow, I really dislike this one for us. Send them both in here. I guess we have to do some horrible blocks or we die. I'm not going to chump. I think we're just going to trade everything off. And then they're going to get some stuff back. With these Nethergoyfs probably coming back. Wow, this is horrible. Death Touch means they get to clean everything up. I wish Baragolf didn't exist. Alright, there's another one. There's the third one. Yikes. I doubt the Voidwalker. That's irrelevant for how our game plan works. We got one draw to somehow not die to this. I don't think that does it. Like, we take 3 and then we take 3 on the following turn and we don't have any way of stopping this. Okay, now we have a lot of good sideboard action. I don't think this is a Force of Will matchup. I do think we would like to have access to our champions and our Swords to Plowshares. I wish were slightly easier to cast than they are. I think the Emperor, this gets grindy, and making their removal worse also seems like a thing I would like. The Reejerey against a Orcust Master deck isn't really my jam. I like drawing extra cards. The Hexcatcher is still a Lord. The flash on it is relevant. I think it's enough to be better than this Mistbinder. And that's what we're going to roll with. We've got 2 things here. We just need to find the real here. This is too many lands though. 4 lands is a lot of lands. We could mulligan and have a similar looking hand. But this does have a 1-drop. So we can go 1 into 2. And that's not the worst. Okay, I'm going to try this. I think it is a little bit too land heavy. But I think if we draw a land that produces white, then it makes our hand better. And if we don't draw lands, it makes our hand better. So there's not the worst amount. Like, we got some good draws is what I'm trying to say. And at least we have the mana so that we can play through Wastelands, which is one of our opponent's angles to try and mess with us. We're going to see here. Is it Moonshadow time? It's Thoughtseize time. The Thoughtseize is really annoying because our hand doesn't have a lot of action. And now it has none. Alright, I think we're going to lose this one for keeping this hand. Maybe I'm just a little bit scared because we had a bad time with mulliganing earlier. We could have won that game if we didn't misplay though, so maybe we were right to mulligan and not keep this one. Okay, alternatively we can just draw some more Merfolk. Now our deck is obviously playing more Lords than you can shake a stick at, so it's quite likely for us to draw into Lords more than anything else at this point. There's even more Lords than lands in our deck at this stage, I think. Or maybe not quite, but similar amounts, because we've boarded a couple out, I think. Got Swamp. What is your follow-up play? Maybe this is the finally the game where we get to use Abundant Countryside. Fatal Push on my guy that made my board good. We got another Nethergoyf? They do have another Nethergoyf. Giving this guy the ability to draw us a card doesn't seem good because it's not going to connect. How important is it that this gets us a card, or would I like this to just start attacking in for us? Because we can play this guy and tap down their blocker. Next turn we can flip this, get an attack in. And I don't want it to be sat in my hand when Thoughtseize is in our opponent's deck. So I guess we're playing this Sygg out. And then we're turtling up a little bit, which is the wrong type of sea creature, but we're still going to do it. Where are my turtle creature theme decks? That's all I want to know. Oh, I shouldn't have said that because there's a turtle set coming out soon, isn't there? Ugh. Take it all back. Don't want the turtles anymore. This mono black deck is actually one of the decks I'm looking at taking to a big event later this year. Alright, we'll tap down this Nethergoyf. I assume they're going to play some other big scary guy. We can't actually flip this Sygg because we don't have a white source, right? Bitter Triumph. They discarded a Verdant Catacomb. So we got 2 for 1 out of that. Oh, deck. Could you stop it, please? Maybe we need a slightly different mana base here. Make it easier to cast these Swords to Plowshares from the sideboard. Don't really care about Wasteland. The reason we've been saving this Abundant Countryside is because it's the only land that actually does something other than be a mana source. So we want to sandbag this so it doesn't get Wastelanded. If they just want to trade damage backwards and forwards, we can do that. This dies to Bowmasters anyway. Oh, I like this. Blue, blue, blue. I think I'm okay attacking in here. They flash in a opposition agent. Then sure, if they flash in a Bowmasters, then the Bowmasters could have killed this in response to this anyway. But nothing happened and we managed to get some damage across. If they want to keep sending their guy in, they will lose this race. They need to put more pressure on board or answer what we have. But answering what we have is difficult with the ward that we've got now. Well, it's not quite ward, but alright. So now they've wasted our cavern. That's something that we were actively looking for. This feels like the fatal push and then pay to kill that guy. Yep. But if they attack us, they need like 6 turns and we only need 5 turns of damage. So we do win this race. Maybe we'll slap down some Baraghoists and we'll be in trouble. Another swamp. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Is it time for Shoaldred? That's sometimes a curve topper of these decks. And I really don't want them to have that. I didn't. They've just got whatever is in their hand. Oh, deck. Why would you do this to me? Well, we're always attacking here. Bowmaster kills us anyway. It trades with opposition agent. In for 2. They must have something the way they were playing though. Because they've been spending like a while thinking in their main phase. And I don't think you do that if you've just got a land. Or maybe they're just trying to bluff us and they reckon they've got plenty of time to win with the chess clock as is. And it's a Baraghoith. Okay. The race, it has changed. But, you know, if we can convert these cards in our hand into actually doing something, we're going to have a great time. I think this probably means that there is an issue with our mana base. Oh, deck. I appreciate what you've done for us there. Get out of my game, Baraghoith. I don't want you here. I'm not chumping with this Wanderbrine Trapper, so we are still cracking in, but we are now behind on the race. We're 6 turns and they're 4, but we do have a removal spell, so we can obviously get rid of the Nethergoyf, which we maybe have to do. Ah, they got a wasteland. Oh, they've gone off the countryside. Okay. I'll take that. Now, that was something we were maybe going to use to deal with the Nethergoyf at some point. I will play some guy, please. Do I want to keep grinding this or not? Like, if we use this on this guy, that's okay. I think we can grind a little bit, and we can maybe just tap this down for a few turns until we get another guy. Like, our deck is just full of threats. It's going to have more threats in our opponent's deck. So let's just deal with this. If we draw another threat, we can then attack for 2, have the other threat that then taps this down. And we've still got this Swords to Plowshares if we need to. If they try and wasteland us, we'll obviously deal with it. Oh, I don't like this guy very much. He kills our Wanderbrine Trapper. If we play a Lord, I think they pop us in response. Didn't find a Lord, though. 1 card in our opponent's hand. I think if they had the Baraghoith, they'd probably go for it there. We can just put 4 damage on our opponent. That's a 3-turn clock-ish. We don't have to do that right now, actually, do they? We can just go to attacks. They can trade off the Stalker, and I think they will. I think they were going to pay the mana to do this anyway. Okay, so they're going to get the block off and then do this. They don't take any damage this turn. Which I think they were probably going to do anyway. And kill this. Okay. I would like to Swords to Plowshares this. I would also like our opponent to not draw another creature. Alright, goodbye Nethergoyf. Please just don't have anything. Just have some Thought Seizers. Those are looking pretty bad at this stage. We don't really have bad draws apart from lands. But our opponent's got like Thought Seizers that don't look amazing. Oh, are you kidding me? The black of misery that is Baraghoith. Oh, Day of Black Sun. That's a cool new one. It's not that new, it's Avatar. But each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end of turn. Destroy those creatures. Cool. But they don't have a threat there. I think if they had a threat, they'd play it out. Alright, let's get in with this guy. Tap the Tundra. Maybe they're less likely to wasteland it. I don't know why. People like to wasteland untapped lands more. Let's try and play that little psychological game with our opponent if they have a wasteland. We've already gone through 2, so it's not likely to have another one. But there it is. We've only got 1 more plow in our deck. A Hexcatcher. I'd like to go to attacks. Let's get some more damages in. Okay. Everything is looking reasonable until the Baraghoith comes down, but we do still have a champion, so they can't wasteland us off casting if we can find that. A Bauble. I'm not going to sack my guy to make them pay more for their Bauble, but this means they don't have anything to deploy right now, because this must have been their draw for turn. So next turn they get to decide. They targeted themselves. Does that mean they have a fetch land in hand as their last card? Possibly. Lord of Atlantis. Okay, we're now getting into the guess who's got a million guys phase of the game. Let's go in with the boys. Alright, you're dead on board, opponents. Did we manage to get there? Or am I about to get blown out by a Barragoyf that gets difficult to get around? 4 mana. Day of Black Sun. Yeah, we can sack some guys here. Day of Black Sun. Each creature, mana value 2 or less. So if we sack these to make them pay more, they're still going to die anyway. So I guess we sacrifice this Lord of Atlantis and see if they want to pay 1 or not. If they don't pay the 1, right, so they are going to pay the 1. Might as well sack our other guy. It's going to die anyway. We die on our terms here. Alright, let's get in for 2. I guess that tells us what that other card in our opponent's hand for ages was. Let's make green and play the Speaker. This guy, not such a big deal. It can't be shooting our stuff. They can use this Wasteland to put a counter on the Stalker, but then because of the Coppola, they can't actually kill our guy with it. Now, they can block and trade with one of them. Looks like our opponent was going to play something expensive there. But it felt like it was like a weird, flexible mana cost, maybe? Because the way they were tapping their mana. Unsure. Ah, feed the cycle. There we go. So it was a variable mana. So I had to pay a lot for that. But we still have a 2-2. That's something to be getting on with. Okay, so we're going to play out this Tropical Island in case we draw an Abundant Countryside, because the Abundant Countryside is 6 to activate, so we will have enough to activate it if we play this Tropical Island out. Obviously, they have a Wasteland, but they didn't use it last turn. They might not want to use it this turn. Right, they're taking out our Tundra. So the one of Source of Plowshares in our deck is uncastable for a while. This is going to grow this guy, which can then kill this. So they're going to get 2. They're going to get 1 point damage in here, and then they're going to have to pay to hit this. Do they do it in the end step when they know we have nothing? I think that's the correct way to do it, because if they wait till we draw, what if we draw like the Hexcatcher and we flash it in and this guy gets bigger? Our opponent has made that same reasoning and has made the correct choice, in my opinion. Okay, we'll play this one out because if we draw Abundant Countryside, we get to do the thing. This also means that Source of Plowshares is a live draw again. We're now in the waiting room for who can draw gas first. I think our deck has more gas because that's all our deck is. Okay. A Merfolk that can't be cast. Not the best. I hope they don't have a Thoughtseize. They might have boarded out Thoughtseizes here. We've seen one. That guy's pretty good. Come on, deck. I would like to draw any Merfolk. I'm not going to crack this because that changes the clock. We did manage to draw any Merfolk. That's good news. 1, 2, 3, 4. You didn't expect this 4 mana Merfolk, did you? Go to sleep, Nethergoyf. So Barragoyf doesn't get them out of here. No creatures are good here, because this will tap them down. A Mishra's Bauble. That can draw them a removal spell next turn. Okay, they're paying costs. They're Thoughtseizing themselves. They're showing themselves the door. They obviously don't think they have anything else that kills them, but they've already shown us a Feed the Cycle. Maybe they have another one? I don't know. Alright, so maybe they only have 1 Feed the Cycle. I like how we sideboarded there. Everything felt pretty solid. I think we're just going to go in again. 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. I think we can beat most of their things, well, like most of their creatures. We're getting Thoughtseized. Our opponent's a little bit behind on time because I have to step away for a bit for something. Wanderbrine Trapper. These both hit for the same amounts of damage, but if one of them's going to die to a Bowmaster, I'd rather it be this one, I think. Because the other one can help us control the board. So we're going to play the Speaker out. We don't want to see Wastelands and things from our opponent. That would be sad. There's a Wasteland, and it's going to be sad. Another Nethergoyf. Yep, 2 1-drops on a Wasteland on the play is very solid. At least they're only 1/2s, though. Play this one out. Let's get this Trapper down. I think I'm going to attack the opponent rather than hold this back to blocks, because we can get really blown out by something like an Orcish Bowmasters. So we're just going to make sure we get our damage in. Don't have another Wasteland. Why would I say that? Why would I say that and speak into existence? Here we go. They're going to play a Wasteland. They didn't play Wasteland. Okay. The game is afoot. A Doughty Voidwalker. Sure. That doesn't block. It does get to sort of do a Sulfuric Vortex impression, though. This is an interesting one, isn't it? We can just play out more guys. If we are okay binning off this guy, we can play out a Lord. We could also just get rid of like the Mistbinder because it taps for 2 different colours. And then play out this Lord and this. But I think just playing out a Lord into Lord is going to be better most of the time than this. Let's play this Mox. And let's put in the... I think it is this guy that goes in and we just go Lord into Lord. That also means that if we get Wastelanded... I guess if we get Wastelanded, we're not going to have the mana for this, are we? Alright, I'm going to put the Emperor in there. I'm going to sandbag this March of the Pearl Trident because it's easier for us to cast. So if we cast this one, then we can cast this even if we get Wastelanded. Yep, that makes sense. So we go blue. Oh no, we can't do these because we need blue for this, don't we, if we're trying to play everything this turn. We go blue for the Master. And we crack for 6. And then we play another creature out. If they do that annoying Wrath spell, they're going to take like their own board with them as well. And that's black X. So they can only kill our 1-drops. So they'll kill both their Netherghosts and all of our 1-drops. Maybe that's worth it. They might be on chump block time here. Right, Douthie can hit us. Let's get some gas opponent. I don't think Sygg is the gas we're looking for. I think we're just going to jam another Lord. This is 15 damage. They can block 8 of it, though. Which still means they're taking 7 and going to 4, if I can do maths. Which is pretty savage. Well, they've got some business. It's a Bitter Triumph. That shrinks the other guys and grows their Goyce. Oh, damn, that's real bad. Oh, thanks, I hate it. This is a massive blowout. Because I figured they'd be able to grow their guys by 1, but because they discarded a creature, they get to grow them by 2, and that's what's blowing me out here. Yikes. Now, you know, we can still win this one. This is 9, so they're going to kill us the next turn. This is 5, so we're unlikely to be able to kill them on the crackback next turn, because we only have 1 Lord in play. We need to draw 2 Lords somehow. We lose the countryside. So we probably have to... are they coming in with just that? I would prefer you to just attack with your Douthie Voidwalker, I think, here. They don't know how much damage we can do. Yeah, this is a nice sort of middle ground as well. Yep. Let's just give them a lethal attack next turn if they turn everything sideways. Champion of the Shoal. I wish I could cast you. I think we just have to play Sygg so that we've got bodies in play. It's all gone horribly wrong. Yeah, the Bitter Triumph with a different card type to put in the graveyard to blow us out was so huge here. So we need to not get Wastelanded. We need to double block a Netherglyph. Take 6. Draw the champions. Tap down the Douthie Voidwalker. The champions can keep the Netherglyph at bay. And then we can try and win the game. That is a pretty big ask. Alright, team. I think we are done here. The champions was our way out of this game. Yep, you take my other resource. Our opponent's deck is just so efficient and low to the ground. Even though they've got cards that aren't particularly good against us, like Douthie Voidwalker, the double 1-mana 4/5s is just too much. And they've got plenty of removal as well. Just a Douthie Voidwalker coming in. I think this is relatively sensible. Like, they can send everything in and make us lose material. Are they just going to send 2 in? I don't think there's a bad attack that our opponent has because they're so far ahead. I think we have to kill this. They're just going to fatal push this and kill all of our board, or... Okay, we're going to go to 5. We get to keep some material, so we're not dead next turn. Oh, Emperor, you're not the one, are you? Let's pass that over. We can trade both of our guys for an Netherglyph, but then how are we ever dealing with this Douthie? Obviously, our creatures aren't going to be very good for dealing with it anyway. Oh, we're so close to getting them. Another Hymn to Turak. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm curious about how much discard they still have in against an aggro deck that's trying to commit to the board. But I guess they've shown us their sweeper a couple of times, so maybe they're thinking, okay, now they've seen the sweeper, they're not going to want to play everything out at once, and then we can kind of do both. GG's, opponent. We couldn't quite get there. that was a really competitive game. I think the mono black deck is very strong. I think people are sleeping on it, but I think it is a real competitor. It's just so good into the blue matchups as well, like all the sort of tempo-y style matchups. It's got random hate cards in the main deck that can really jam people up too. Big fan of this deck. Unfortunately, we are done. That is the end of round 4. And if we have a look, we are currently 1-3. Now, all of these have been competitive games, and one of them we made a punt that cost us the 2-0 against the blue-black tempo deck. So I think our deck is actually showing itself off to be pretty decent. Let's go to the final round and see if we can get some pity points back. One drop into a bunch of lords. That's what we signed up for today, so we're going to rock with it. We do have to expose our Cavern on turn 1 though. But the almighty, unstoppable Wanderbrine Trapper is a prize worth exposing it for, I guess. City of Traitors. Lotus Petal. Are we getting Show and Told? Formidable Speaker. The only Formidable Speaker deck I've seen so far is a Lorwyn. Loyal Retainers. What does this do? Return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Not a big lover of that for us. There's no point attacking here. So they're going to get an Atraxa. They get a Plains here, so they're not playing into... Okay, they get Tundra, so we do have Island Walk. So we can win this game, bizarrely. So there's the Loyal Retainers. Okay. Okay, so this is the Show and Tell Lorwyn deck that I've seen popping up. So it has the Asarak, Show and Tells into a Lorwyn, or Atraxa or Omniscience. They chose Asarak, Force of Will, Show and Tell, Misty Rainforest. Do not choose a source? Oh no, the Show and Tell is a sorcerer, isn't it? Of course. Alright. So we're actually in a good position for now. Sure. I don't think you're winning the race here, opponent. This Tundra being in play is very helpful for us. They got rid of the Misty. Let's go for another Lord of Atlantis, I think. Let's go to attacks. This has Island Walk, so we can just careen in with it. Get some damage. We can tap down the Atraxa and just keep the Atraxa at bay whilst we beat in. Merfolk being able to beat a turn 2 resolved Atraxa. Like, we might not beat this, but we at least have an angle to beat this, which is something that Merfolk has certainly not had before. We're getting Show and Told. We are getting Show and Told. I guess we're putting another Lord. 4, 8, 12, 24, 50. So we have lethal here. So they have to put in a Lorwyn and win the game right now. Okay, they put in an Atraxa. So they are dead, I think. None of these cards stop them from losing the game. Nice turn 2 Atraxa, opponent. Yeah, we beat a turn 2 Atraxa with Merfolk. Alright. We are having the time of our lives today. Let's put in these Force of Negations and this Force of Will. Do we want Swords to Plowshares for the purposes of dealing with an Asarak? Because we can hit it on the stack. It also kills their other guy, the Atraxa. I think we probably are interested in some amount of this. I don't think we need the Reejerey. I think this was probably just a thing we didn't actually need in our deck when it came to it. The Law Retainers. Maybe they're not a Lorwyn. I don't know. So Grafdigger's Cage is another thing I'm interested in. Okay, we can get rid of the weakest of our lords, which is this one. And that gives us these cards. So it was these 8 creatures out for these 8 spells. Okay, we'll try that. There's an argument to have the champions in, because if we put this into play off of a Show and Tell, it just stops their guy. And that's kind of interesting. But I think we just don't want the Show and Tell to happen. The Asarak means they're definitely running a Lorwyn, but the builds I've seen is Sultai, and they're running white. We have a counter spell. We have a 1-drop. We have a thing that is kind of like some counter spells. Just a ponder. Sure. We just play out this speaker guy. It's a 2-2. That's why we played out the Tropical Island, just to make it slightly bulkier straight away in case that's a relevant part of this. Abundant Countryside. I guess we're going to play this Hexcatcher first so we can get more damage through. It's always tempting to hold this to try and use it as counter magic. But we want to get the damage in, and I want to play this ahead of other lords because it is counter magic in a pinch. It makes it much easier for us to fight with our Force of Will. We're going to see like an Intuition this turn. No. All right, they're just scooping it up. They can't beat the Merfolk. Too strong. All right. That is the end of the league, and we finished with a 2-3. But if you look, all of these ones were 1-2, and one of them was only a 1-2 because we made a really obvious punt because I thought my Merfolk had Island Walk itself, which is very embarrassing now I look back. But the deck went 3-2 and only just lost on 2 other ones. Like, the mono-black matchup was so close to going our way so many times. Like, we just needed things to go a little bit better for us, and we could have got there. So that's pretty sweet. Honestly, I'm going to say it. I'm calling it now. Merfolk is viable again. Believe it or not, it is viable. I don't think the Ether Vial builds of old are viable. I think those decks suck because Ether Vial is a bad card. If you're playing an aggro deck, why are you playing this card that makes you go slower? It's just ridiculous to me. Just fill your deck with lots of Lords. Because if you have an Ether Vial, sure, you don't have to worry about your Lords getting countered. But who cares if they get countered when you've got, 20 of them? I think the Encumbered Reejerey wasn't really necessary and wasn't particularly useful. I think this card can just go straight away. We want to try it out because it's a new card. And this is kind of a 2-mana 5/4 sometimes. And sometimes it does more beyond that as well because we're pumping it. But I think the actual reason why Merfolk looks better right now to me is because we have these. Having 8 1-drops that are castable in our deck, that are 2-power creatures, is huge. And the Abundant Countryside Eclipsed Realms, making it easier to cast these cards, makes sense. But I think maybe we need to chill on the Eclipsed Realms to make it slightly easier to cast the sideboard Swords to Plowshares. But I think, honestly, this deck is real good. If you wanted to, instead of playing Chrome Mox, you can play Curse Catcher. And maybe you trim the Reejerey, so you get 2 Curse Catchers, and then you get 3 other slots to play with. So that can be your 4th Force of Will, and then you get 2, I don't know, Emperor Mihail or the Champions. So you've just got an easier way of dealing with creatures. Probably that, actually. Just a couple of Champions to top the curve. But yeah, honestly, I think this deck felt pretty good. Sygg was very underwhelming. I think we drew 1 card from it. It was just a guy that we played sometimes. This was definitely the weakest of the new cards. I think the best of the new cards was actually this. This is the biggest deal for Merfolk. Just a guy that comes down on turn 1, has 2 power. But then the tapping ability was relevant numerous times, and it works very well with the Duelist. I would actually play Merfolk again, which is a wild thing to say in Legacy. But this deck feels like a real deck again. And this was just a pretty rough build, and I think we've got, 8 slots that are worth changing around in this deck. So with 8 subpar slots in our deck, we still managed to put up respectable games into every single game we played. And, we did just donk some people, and we should have actually come out with a positive record as well if it wasn't for misplay. So I'm calling it. Merfolk are back, baby. Strap up your little fins, and let's go. Yeah. Genuinely excited after playing a Merfolk League. That hasn't happened to me since I've been running the channel, I don't think. Merfolk has always been a joke, and this did not feel like a joke. It felt like we were doing good things. Yeah, maybe we'll put some Merfolk on the channel again. If this video does well, let me know. If you want to see a Merfolk deck again with the changes I would like to make to this, because this deck felt genuinely pretty sweet. I would mention that we never use the Abundant Countryside for the making guys thing, so it might just be a case where this isn't necessarily worth it. But I guess we don't have any activated abilities of Merfolk that we want to have. So the upgrade of the Eclipsed Realm is that you can use this to activate abilities. But the only activated ability we have is Colorless, and this produces colors anyway. So this doesn't do triggered abilities, so it doesn't work with Sygg either. But yeah, Merfolk are back. Buy all your fish and smash people with them. This deck looks solid to me, especially if we fix it. Alright, thank you so much for joining me on this one. If you need to buy some Merfolk, check out 3for1 Trading. That link is in the description. And make sure you're sub to my channel. It really helps me out. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you do want to spend money, I've got Patreon and YouTube membership. Hook me up, right? And if you really want to see Merfolk, you can get in touch with me on the Discord and pay me to play Merfolk again. And I will actually allow that, which is something I don't always do. Alright, thank you so much once again, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.